I always knew my wife was hiding a dark secret, but I never expected to find a military-grade GPS tracker sewn into the lining of my cheap leather jacket. For 3 years, my wife, Jessica, looked at me with pure disgust. To her, I was just a broke tech worker making $35,000 a year, barely paying the rent of our cramped apartment. She constantly reminded me of how much of a failure I was. But what Jessica didn't know was that every single tear she made me shed was part of a massive billion-dollar test. She thought she was playing me. She thought her secret meetings with a wealthy older businessman in downtown luxury hotels were completely hidden. But she had no idea that my 31st birthday was just days away. And on that day, a forbidden family will was about to unlock a truth that would drop her to her knees. Let's go back to how this nightmare started. I met Jessica in college. Back then, things were simple, but as the years passed, her greed grew. She wanted luxury cars, expensive designer bags, and vacations in Paris. With my $35,000 salary, I could only provide a basic life. The insults started slowly. At first, it was just small comments about my faded clothes. Then, it turned into pure resentment. She started staying out late, claiming she was working overtime at her marketing job. But I wasn't stupid. One evening while she was taking a shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. The message was from a contact saved simply as work group. But the text didn't look like work at all. It read, "The penthouse is booked for Friday night. Don't worry about the broke guy." My heart skipped a beat. A chilling sensation ran down my spine. I stared at the phone, terrified of what I was uncovering. But instead of confronting her, I quietly put the phone back. Why? Because I was trapped by a rule I couldn't break. You see, my life wasn't what it seemed. Everyone in the city knew the name of Marcus Vance, the legendary real estate tycoon who owned half the skyline. Marcus Vance was my grandfather. When he passed away 5 years ago, he left behind a massive empire. But he also left a very specific, strict condition in his secret will. He believed that extreme wealth destroys true love. His will stated that I had to live completely independently, earning less than $40,000 a year until my 30th birthday. If I revealed the truth to anyone, or if I used a single dime of the family wealth before that day, the entire inheritance would be permanently forfeited. I wanted to find someone who loved me for me, not for the Vance family name. So I became a poor husband. I endured Jessica's insults because I hoped she would stick by me. I hoped her love was real, but that hope shattered into pieces on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was getting ready to leave for my office when I picked up my old leather jacket. It felt unusually heavy on the right side. I reached into the inner pocket, but it was empty. I ran my fingers along the seam. There was a hard, plastic lump hidden deep inside the fabric. My hands shook as I grabbed a pair of scissors and sliced the lining open. A small, black, blinking electronic device fell onto the carpet. It was a real-time GPS tracker. I stood there in absolute silence, staring at the blinking green light. Jessica wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively tracking my movements. She wanted to make sure she always knew exactly where I was, so she could meet her wealthy lover without any risk of me catching them. A wave of unexplained anger washed over me. The woman I shared a bed with had turned my life into a calculated trap. Instead of removing the tracker, I smiled. A dark, chilling smile. If she wanted to track me, I would give her a show she would never forget. The next day was Friday, the day of the penthouse meeting mentioned in the text. I knew my 30th birthday was exactly 48 hours away. The restriction on my grandfather's will was finally coming to an end. The lawyers had already contacted me, confirming that the paperwork for the $1.2 billion trust fund was ready for my signature. On Friday evening, I purposely left the office early. I knew Jessica would be monitoring the GPS app on her phone. I walked straight to a cheap, run-down diner across the street from the luxury Grand Plaza Hotel, the exact hotel where her lover's penthouse was located. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window, waiting. Within 20 minutes, I saw Jessica walking out of the Grand Plaza Hotel lobby. She was wearing a stunning, expensive silver dress I had never seen before. Walking right next to her, with his arm wrapped tightly around her waist, was Richard, a notorious 50-year-old corporate investor, known for manipulating small businesses. Jessica was laughing, looking at him the way she used to look at me. Suddenly, she stopped and pulled out her phone. I watched her look at the screen, undoubtedly checking the GPS tracker. She looked across the street, directly toward the cheap diner. She whispered something to Richard, and they both started walking across the street, right toward me. When the diner door opened, the bell chimed. Jessica walked in, her high heels clicking loudly against the dirty tiled floor. Richard followed her, a mocking smirk plastered across his face. "Well, well, well," Jessica said, her voice dripping with venom. "Look who it is, my hard-working, pathetic husband enjoying a cheap coffee." I looked up, keeping my face completely expressionless. "Jessica, what are you doing here? And who is this?" Richard chuckled, glancing at my worn-out shoes. "So, this is the tech guy." "Jessica, you weren't lying. He really looks like a charity case." Jessica leaned over my table, slamming a set of divorce papers right next to my coffee cup. "Sign it, Leo," she demanded. "I'm done living in a trash apartment. I'm done waiting for a loser who will never amount to anything. Richard is buying me a mansion in Malibu next week. You can keep the leather jacket, by the way. I know how much you love it." She laughed, assuming I would beg her to stay. She thought I was completely destroyed. "Are you sure this is what you want, Jessica?" I asked quietly, my voice eerily calm. "More than anything in the world," she snapped. "You're a nobody, Leo. You will always be a nobody." I picked up the pen and signed the papers without hesitating for a single second. Jessica snatched the documents, looking slightly surprised by how easily I gave up. But before she could turn around to leave, the loud sound of screeching tires echoed from outside the diner window. 3 massive black luxury SUVs pulled up to the curb, completely blocking the street. The diner grew dead silent. The doors of the SUVs flew open. 6 tall men dressed in immaculate, expensive Italian suits stepped out. They moved with military precision. Walking in the middle of them was a senior man holding a high-end leather briefcase. It was Mr. Harrison, the head legal counsel for the Vance estate. The diner door burst open. The private security guard stepped inside, immediately surrounding our table. The entire diner went into a state of absolute gridlock. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Richard's face went pale. He recognized Mr. Harrison instantly, the man who controlled the largest financial portfolio in the country. "Mr. Harrison," Richard stammered, his arrogant tone instantly vanishing. What are you doing in a place like this?" Mr. Harrison completely ignored Richard. He walked straight past him, stepped up to my table, and bowed his head deeply. "Happy 30th birthday, Mr. Vance," Mr. Harrison said, his voice echoing through the silent diner. "The clock has just struck midnight. The 5-year testing period left by your grandfather is officially over. The restriction is lifted." Mr. Harrison opened the briefcase and pulled out a single, certified bank document. It was a financial declaration form. "The $1.2 billion trust fund has been successfully transferred to your personal account," he continued, handing me the document. "Everything is ready for your signature, boss." Jessica froze. The breath completely left her lungs. She stared at the document in my hand, reading the numbers over and over again. $1.2 billion. Her knees began to tremble. The realization of what she had just thrown away hit her like a physical blow. She literally dropped to her knees, right there on the dirty diner floor, grabbing the edge of my table. "Leo, please," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears of pure panic. "It was a mistake. I was just confused. Please, we can fix this. I love you. I stood up, adjusting the collar of my jacket. I looked down at her, feeling absolutely nothing. You didn't love me, Jessica. You loved the idea of a man who could buy your affection, I said softly. Enjoy Malibu with Richard. I walked out of the diner, flanked by my security team, leaving her crying on the floor. It's been 3 weeks since that night. Jessica has been desperately calling and texting me from unknown numbers, begging for a second chance. But last night, something chilling happened. I moved into my new heavily guarded mansion at the edge of the city. No one has the address except my security team. But this morning, when I walked into my locked master bedroom, I found a tiny black electronic device blinking on my nightstand. It was the exact same GPS tracker, and next to it was a small handwritten note that read, "You can't hide your wealth from me forever, boss."